Tears of the Kingdom may be the final piece of the Triforce Trilogy, and today we dive into all the clues and secret hints hidden throughout Hyrule. These 3 games may possess a theme connected to each aspect of the Triforce: power, wisdom, and courage, and I believe this was the ultimate vision of their writer, Hidemaro Fujibayshi. A plan that started with Skyward Sword and the origins of power and evil in Hyrule. While Hidemaro had worked on handheld games like Four Swords, The Oracles, Phantom Hourglass, and Minish Cap, his role as writer of his first main console game, Skyward Sword, was a new era of Zelda. Hidemaro had an idea of a new Zelda with deep lore and connected story, with a new goddess Hylia to add to the existing 3 goddesses, and games focused on that theme, not a sequential but conceptual trilogy, the end caps of the timeline, setting up lore in the first game to be used later on, such as Zelda informing us this symbol on the hand is only the representation of the Triforce and not the physical Triforce itself, or how the Master Sword came to be. This new era of Zelda had a new color theme as well. We all know in past games the red, green, and blue of power, courage, and wisdom, a color scheme that may have been based off of RGB, the primary colors used in screens, televisions, and video games. It's called an additive color model, as when combined they get brighter and form white light, like the Triforce itself. But when we look at the true primary colors in art and printing, they aren't RGB used in technology. They aren't even the red, blue, yellow as Mondrian portrayed, but in fact, magenta, cyan, yellow, with the key for depth and shading. I believe this color model, in addition to the RGB of past games, will show how these 3 games are connected. Red with magenta and black, blue with cyan, and green with yellow. Now back to the trilogy. I suspect he chose power first, as the goddess Din was first, creating the earth with her flaming arms, associated with the color red and the antagonist. Skyward Sword was a story all about power, earth, fire, and antagonists, featuring the color red, black, and the new magenta in the form of Malice. Skyward Sword is the game of power. Literally, the word power is repeated throughout the game, said 5 times alone in just the opening. The power of Hylia, the power of demise, Hylia giving up her power to become mortal, powering up the Master Sword, the ultimate power of the Triforce, the power of the curse, power, 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 power. Earth is steadily referenced as the evil force from underground breaches and breaks forth through its fissure, when Hylia lifts the earth to the sky to save her people. The race of subterranean magmas. The focus on the surface, or the most important location, the sealed grounds, where we fight the imprisoned 3 whole times before the final battle with his fully powered form, the Demon King Demise, with flaming red hair and his sword, the Lord Girahim, who we also fight 3 times throughout the game, all with increasing difficulty. Swords are a common theme in this game. The Skyward Sword isn't just calling divine powers down from the sky, but a noun referencing the goddess blade, and Link himself as the sword or protector of Hyrule, a sword that isn't yet strong enough to open the gate of time, nor fully seal the evil bubbling up from underground, and must be powered up within 3 sacred flames to achieve its destiny of the Master Sword, the home of our guide Fi, who yes, is also a blade, and according to the color of Hestu's confetti maracas, swords are power. I also wonder if Fi is a playoff of Fe, the atomic symbol for iron on the periodic table, a prevalent component in making steel and in making blood, as this game is respectfully the origin of the blood of the goddess. Another reference to red, just like the Crimson Loftwing, Impa's clothing and face paint, Grus's hair, Gapora's scarf, Girahim's cape, and the red thread of fate that he states binds his destiny to the hero. So how many connections to earth, flames, swords, and multiple antagonists, red, black, and pink Malice, does it take to prove this is the game of power? I'd also like to note it was interesting they showed Grus as an antagonist who was able to change and grow with a major character arc, possibly foreshadowing future events. But more on that later, because next came Breath of the Wild as Nehru created the laws of this world, a puzzle-based game with an incredible physics engine, with cyan blue Sheikah technology teaching us through the trials of the monks, learning this story through memories, diaries, and hidden clues left in the ruins around Hyrule. Zelda, who normally holds the Triforce of Wisdom, was the main character of this game, that highlighted her struggle between the responsibilities of Royal Blue Princess and the Champion's Blue Scholar or researcher she wanted to be. There were actually so many researchers in this game, from Pyrrha, Robbie, and Simon of the Sheikah, to Dr. Khalif near Fort Hateno, the serene scientists of Paleo paleontology, Rotana the archaeologist, amateur Lurelin Guarini, Hino the Blood Moon investigator, the creepy dude outside Gerudo Town even says his spying is for research purposes only. In this game of knowledge, the blue champion's tunic gave us enemy HP as its bonus. Interestingly, the champion's tunic and the Zora armor are the only pieces made for and gifted to Link by Zelda and Mipha. Nehru's element is water, and its other form ice, and the rain does have a notorious reputation for challenging us, but it may actually bring good luck if you look for it, from merchants' special goods to better guardian drops and increased wildlife. Nehru is also associated with love and healing, giving way to the Shrine of Resurrection that brought Link back from the brink of death, or his childhood friend Mipha of the Zora, whose grace promised to heal any wound of Link's, an ability she mastered while focusing on her pure love of him, something she tried to tell Zelda, even though she was embarrassed to do so, to help the princess unlock her powers before the calamity interrupted. Love may be what finally unlocked Zelda's sealing powers. Maybe not even love for Link, but love for herself, having faith or belief in herself, finally flourishing as the silent princess in the wild. The flower representing Zelda seen growing in her study and on the Breath of the Wild logo itself. The focus on the two color blues, the Sheikah Tech, Zelda's internal struggle, love triangle between Zelda, Link, and the Zora princess, healing and resurrection, rain and ice, physics and research makes this the game of wisdom. I also want to add the abundance of apples might be a clever nod to Newton's laws of physics, and I think we've all been on the receiving end of gravity in this game. That brings us to the final game, as the last goddess Furore, with her rich soul, created all of life, and the Triforce of Courage, leaving us with Tears of the Kingdom trailers and all the green magical energy, combined with gold and yellow on the top of Link's hand, that will for sure be focused on Link and his spiritual growth, opening his third eye like a pine cone, or a lotus bud, both connected to the golden spiral or golden ratio. We see wind-powered technology with a green and yellow symbol similar to a broomstick that may indicate magical crafting or witches, ancient text and incantations, the return of the magic meter, and the possibility of sacred tears collected in courage-testing silent realms, hopefully locating the missing Triforce. So if you aren't already convinced that these games follow a pattern, let me show you the clues left in Breath of the Wild, it being the puzzle game after all. And while the Triforce in Breath of the Wild isn't mentioned, as if its power has been forgotten over the years or hidden away to protect it, we still see its presence in the ruins around Hyrule. The first place we see it is at the iconic Temple of Time on the Great Plateau, in a path descending from the temple to 3 rooms of ruin. The top room shows us Din's symbol next to a decayed guardian that was once infected with pink malice that was born in Skyward Sword. Nehru's symbol is found on the second level, in the only room containing a Sheikah chest, holding our main Hylian trousers that complete the champion's tunic apparel from the cover art, as well as a barrel with a blue chew whose element is water, pointing to Breath of the Wild's wisdom. And on the lowest level, a heavily grassed over Furore symbol with some food, and nothing else, because its game has yet to come. Once we activate the Sheikah towers and shrines, our next Triforce clue is in the hand positions of the monks in our Plateau Shrines, giving us runes that are magenta, cyan, and yellow, following this new color theory. There's also a giant Triforce in the Sanctum with odd musical notes surrounding it. According to Creating a Champion, they were supposed to be Zelda's lullaby, which can be heard playing throughout the castle, but maybe that would be too much of a giveaway that Breath of the Wild is about Zelda and wisdom. Next, we find the goddess symbols at the springs, the Spring of Power being the only identical replica of a spring from Skyward Sword, located closest to Eldin and its volcano in the adjacent Akala, having similar rock structures to the Breach of Demise, as well as the Citadel, home of the Hyrule Army. The Spring of Wisdom, the final spring Zelda must visit in her mission to unlock her sealing powers, but only after she's old and wise enough. The only spring that requires you to free Naedra in a shrine quest in order to unlock it. A spring located on the ice-covered Mount Lanayru. And finally, the Spring of Courage, located by the Faron Woods, filled with ancient Zonai ruins and luminous stones that have been seen within Tears of the Kingdom trailers. Comparable to the springs, another clue to this trilogy lies within the side quest of 3 brothers and paleontologists at the Serene Stable. Each are looking for proof of leviathans. The first brother is connected to the Great Eldin skeleton, found at the base of the volcano, and it resembles Skyward Sword's own Levias, with bony plate on his head and hole caused by the Bylosite, a great fire blade elemental sword in its belly, and a bunch of enemies or antagonists to fight. Even the Korok here is lifting a rock from the earth under red leaves to burn away, again hinting that Skyward Sword is the game of power, fire, and earth. The second brother is looking for a skeleton in the icy mountain of Hebra, similar to Mount Lanayru, as it's the most involved of the 3 Leviathans, considering it has a puzzle quest to unlock it, requiring a snowball and the Cryonis rune in water to solve. The skeleton inside may be Jabun from the Wind Waker, who gives us Nehru's Pearl, and is the only one partially submerged in water. The Korok here is a bit more complicated than the other 2, as you figure out the correct path to get each flower without falling, possibly chosen as Zelda is represented in the Silent Princess flower in this game, showing us that Breath of the Wild is the game of wisdom, water, ice, and physics. And the last brother just offers rupees to find his skeleton. Rupees are associated with magic and spirit, from magic armor, treasure, left behind by bloopy spirits, to offerings that open up the fairy fountains, a bridge to another realm, the most ancient of which is located within this skeleton, found in a wood storm in the desert, where I believe will play a huge part in Tears of the Kingdom, not only because of the return of the Gerudo-born Ganondorf, but because of the 8th heroine and the magic connections to the Gerudo, not to mention the many references to electricity in this region that are connected to spirit, life force, and ancestors, and is portrayed in both green and yellow. This Leviathan resembles the windfish from Link's Awakening, with its wing bones for flight on top. A game that wasn't just a dream, but the enlightenment of Link, awakening his inner eye, possibly a silent realm to force Link to grow spiritually, much like I suspect Tears of the Kingdom will focus on. The hero, spirit magic, and possibly time travel, and its Korok is sparkling yellow gold with green leaves. The 3 brothers also kind of look like power, wisdom, and courage, and their dialogue matches as well. One not wanting to relinquish control with a likeness to Ganondorf, one discussing survival and mind, whose overall demeanor and pose reminds me of Zelda, and the last who bears close resemblance to Link. Before we wrap it up, I want to address that several people questioned if Skyward Sword is the real game of power, because what about Age of Calamity? And I agree 100%. Age of Calamity is definitely a game of power, but I believe the idea for it came from Skyward Sword. While it's not canon to this timeline, I think the premise of the game was born from this Triforce Trilogy theory. They wanted to make another game of power, a Hyrule Warriors fighting game using the Breath of the Wild art style and a lot of red and magenta malice. Hidemaro Fujibayshi even supervised on the project. But remember when I mentioned earlier in Skyward Sword when Groose the antagonist had a major character arc and chose to fight with the hero instead of against him? Well, I think that choice influenced Age of Calamity, as the Yiga clan and Master Koga did the exact same thing, switching sides to fight with the hero against Aster, who like Girahim refers to the threads of fate, possibly foreshadowing and preparing us for if Ganondorf the man decides he no longer wants to be Demise's puppet, helping the hero and the princess, using the full physical Triforce between all 3 to break the curse and vanquish Demise forever. I mean, why else did they remake Skyward Sword? So, have I convinced you yet? Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and hit that notification bell. May the goddess smile upon you.